record on this computer. There we go. Perfect. I think it's all working now. So, I'll just like ask you like a few questions if that's okay with you. So one of the questions, oh boy, I've got a lot of tabs at my computer. So you're wanting to become a teacher, correct? And like learning how to like advocate for other students with disabilities, correct?
Yeah.
So how is that going so far?
It's going pretty good. I feel though that like in my education, I haven't had a whole lot of like opportunities or like uh talk, I guess, or like learning ways to advocate for students though. So it's not I don't feel like my education has been geared towards that, which is a little disappointing.
Understandable. So I mean like I'm going towards for like elementary education and then also hoping to get like a deaf and like hard of hearing teacher minor in between. The problem is like I think like I could be like here at UNI for like another year if I chose to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm just like debating what I should do and so forth. And I've heard from like people saying that like if you're truly passionate, you should go for it and so forth. So
100%. I would agree.
so yes, so just like a few questions. So like I know you love to spend time with family and friends. You're a huge dog lover as you love your dog when everyone, correct?
Yes.
How's that going?
That's going well. She's somewhere. I don't even know where she is.
And then so like I feel like thought about like having like if there was something like accessibility, like what about like having an animal support like in the classrooms? Like how would that like look like in the classrooms?
I think it would be really cool to be able to like have like an like almost like an emotional support dog in the classroom. Tilford has that now, and I haven't seen it like in action yet, to be honest, to like see how it would be. But in my head, it would just be like a dog hanging out in the classroom, and if a student is like overwhelmed or needs like a calm down break or something, then they would be able to like go over to the dog and like just have like a calming break with them kind of thing, because dogs are just so wonderful, and I feel like that would help so much. It would help me in the classroom.
Yes, like I think one of like my family members they work at like National Playing Field and like I think they have like an animal support for like counseling. So like if students are like needed to go to the animal for like comfort because like animals do a lot of good things for us.
Yeah.
So I mean like kind of like understand that like and that's something that could like potentially like happen like in the classrooms as well. Would there be like any like accessibility like request for that, or is that like more like a different kind of field?
Yeah, I think that like Tilford has it kind of like a request for that, and the idea of like it's like a building dog, and it can like go around like if somebody is needing it or something. So like I like that idea with that. Yeah.
I mean, like I think it would help out like any kind of student that needs it. So I mean, like I know of like people here at UNI also have like emotional support animals. Like I
Mhm.
think a few weeks ago I was like I was like at like a club and there was this student who had like a support dog with them. I'm like, oh, that's really nice. Like I never was exposed to that.
Yeah.
So like I just see it as a like really nice thing. Like it helps them to like stay supported, I guess.
Hmm.
And so do you like find most things like through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok?
Yeah, I'm on a few like teacher pages on Facebook we were like required to do that for one of my classes and I have a Twitter, but I don't do Twitter very much. So Facebook or I have been seeing a lot of things on like teacher TikTok stuff. So that's usually beneficial. I also I would say there are a few books that I've had to read. One book in particular is like I think it's called Black Ants and Buddhists or something. I don't know. But it was a very good book. And that's like one that I actually read for school. And it like talked about like in being inclusive and like making your lesson plans like more like hands-on and stuff. And I thought that was a really good one that like could reach out to a great variety of students and such.
I mean, like, it's important to have like a community of support, but also like have a connection with your students. If
Hmm.
you don't have a connection with your students, it's like hard for your students to be able to like understand you. And like if you also don't take that like initiative on like the first like 2 weeks of school, just like building a community in your new classroom, your students are more likely going to feel left out if that doesn't happen. So it's important to like introduce yourself as a teacher and then just kind of like build like a close-knit community. So that way, like if your student is going through like a tough time, they know that they have a teacher to rely on and know that like they have someone that they actually trust and they
Hmm.
can communicate on whatever they need to and so forth.
100%. Yeah, building that community, I think, is just like what you need to do before you can even get that learning going in the classroom. You have to have that community and sense of belonging. I agree.
And so like it's also having like that connection. And then like it's also like if you know what your students want, it's kind of like learning to be like their voice for them. Because if you don't have a communication or don't have that community with the student, it's gonna be very hard. And like sometimes like students may not even like the teacher in the first place.
Hmm. Yep.
For me, like I know here, like I have a teacher that it's a little bit iffy, but we're kind of getting there. I have an exam on Friday next week. It's about Earth and space science, like it's like geology of the Earth and so forth, like plate tectonics, the rocks, floods, that sort, and like stressed a lot in that class, but like the teacher basically said like not to like stress about it too much, that like she'll do whatever she can do to like help me out. And
Hmm.
so it's just kind of like helping to support your students, like knowing if they're going through like a difficult time, just like just giving them that support.
Yep. 100%. Did you say you're doing elementary education?
Yes.
Yeah. And you have that class? Like I have, are you minoring in anything? What's your minor?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you, do you have a minor in something?
So I might get a minor in teaching like deaf and hard of hearing students.
Okay. Would, okay. I feel like well, I don't have a class like that. And so I was curious if it would like be, if it's something for like something else completely, but.
I mean, so for the course, credits or requirements that I have, so as mentioned, education, like I'll definitely like graduate in May of 2026, but like the minor that's added on, it's about like 33 credit hours. I have at least like 10 credit hours knocked off of that minor.
Okay.
So like if I chose to go for like 20 hours, then that would add on to like another year.
Okay. I get you.
So yeah, like that's a little bit of like where I'm like hesitant on what I want to do. But like I still got some time. I don't have a lot of time, I understand, but I'll
No,
figure
you
out.
still have.
And so like I'm not really like much on like social media. Like I spend a lot of time on TikTok. So
Hmm.
maybe like if I like just get like my podcast out a little bit, like maybe like it might help like some teachers that are like looking in the accessibility field to like help them to like understand like
Hmm.
what the different accommodations and support systems that can be in place.
Yeah,
And
that'd be awesome.
so like what have you found like to be challenging working with like students with disabilities perhaps?
I would say the most challenging thing would probably be communication because some students are not able to communicate verbally, and that's really difficult. Um, and let's see, I'm trying to think back because last year I did work like this. Last year I was a sub in one of the rooms that is more geared towards disabilities. Usually I'm with behavior students, right? So it's like a little, it's definitely a big jump from that to more disability wise. But I would definitely say communication and knowing, especially knowing what a student needs when they're not able to verbally communicate it. I think that's very difficult. And typically, when a student is not able to communicate, they have like a little like tablet or a core board that has like pictures with words on it, and they can like point to it to kind of say like more food or break or something like that. But some students are still unable to use that. And so it's kind of like a guess and check kind of thing. And then, but that's when you have to feel like get to know them like, oh, this is at this point, I can tell that he's getting worked up and he needs a break. Like, then we can take a break. Like, once you build that connection with them too.
I mean like I know for me like it was just like a little bit of like communication but just like I'm just trying to like be more independent on my own but like knowing what I need to succeed. Because
Mhm.
like as a student that's deaf and like going through like the hearing well like its own challenges, like I've just like found it that like sometimes there have been things that happen out there and then there happens then that haven't been out there, and so like I've just kind of like been like exploring like
Mhm.
so for like I know you're like a note taker, like a fantastic note taker by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
But like so like at college I use an app of what's called otter.ai, which is like a transcribe website thing. So like I record my my classes and so forth. And then after like I'm done with that class, like it like takes like all like the transcribes of the words that was said during that conversation. And then also has like a summary of what was like explained in that class. I also have like I also use like ASL interpreting services called Sunglasses for one of my classes. Like it's like I have like the 3 hour class. So yeah, like I know that like I like listen a lot and like sometimes like the listen fatigue can really take a toll on me. So I
Mhm.
know that like ASL like it's a way for me to be able to like still like know what's going on. And so like it's just kind of like understanding what works best and what doesn't work best for the student and like learning to be able to like accommodate to what they need.
Yeah. And bringing that up too, that's like a lot of like good technology. And so I feel like if you're working in a school district that is really low income, stuff like that might not be available. And so then your resources are very limited. So, which makes it harder to provide the best for your student like that. And yeah, I guess like your previous para had troubles, like she had to like fight to get her computer. Like the school was just not like, you don't need it, you don't need it. But like when I got there, I'm like, this is necessary. Like you have to have this. Otherwise, your learning would be impaired even more because we you can't like see the notes that I'm taking right away kind of thing. Like so that that in itself was crazy. And that's just a computer that the school already has access to. Like, so imagine like getting more technology to support a student would be a lot harder, I feel like, in low income schools.
I mean, yeah, I also had to like fight on like, like the microphone system from like have this school buy the microphone system. Like I know I had like to go through like an entire like I think it was like several months where I had like fight for what I needed because like my FM system was very outdated because I had the one that had like a little like string of wire, but that wasn't always like the best thing because like sometimes like the microphone made like twist it upside down and like I was also like losing more hearing as I was like getting older. So like it really wasn't helping me out as much.
Yeah.
So like I had to like fight on like like the FM system because like what I needed to be successful. Because like in the classes, I remember when I was in eighth grade, like my parent was like, I'm not sure like this is gonna work like when you're in high school. Like she was like really thoughtful about everything. Like which I do appreciate her being very thoughtful and like kind of like telling me like this might be like it might be like more like good conversations when you're at the high school and what you have isn't going to work when you get to the high school and
Mm-hmm.
like also you might need to like update your like technology uses and so like I also was wondering if that's because like financial reasons like if the school was going to be willing to pay for it or not like
Yeah.
with the computers like she was using like her personal laptop, which she didn't really need to, but the school wasn't going to like they
Hmm.
didn't make such a big deal out of it until you fought for it. So
Yeah. And so that's what we like are talking about right now, advocating, right? And that would be a huge thing. You have to advocate for that stuff because the school districts, they want the best for the student, but they're also like, is that really necessary kind of thing? It feels like. So it's like you have to prove, yes, it's necessary, and you have to put that effort into it so that you can get that outcome you want.
they like advocating for like your students and what they need is incredibly important. And so that's why I feel like also like having like an IEP, like having an IEP or like just having some sort of like foundation of like notes of like what you need because like you've already been through the struggle and you also are trying to like advocate for like others that are going through the same thing. So that way when they come to it, like they'll like already know what to expect and just kind of like be prepared.
Yeah. Um, Going off of the IEP talk, I don't know a whole lot about IEPs to be honest, and like the making of it, but I feel like it would be very important to be very specific in them because then that I'm pretty sure that's like now this is required for the student, and so the school has to follow it. And so if you're really specific, the school like legally has to follow all of that, so they have to accommodate you kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
so.
I think a few days ago, like I learned that like for IEPs that like teachers have to follow it because
Mhm.
if they don't follow it, they could potentially lose the job for not following the accommodations.
Yeah.
So which I found was like very like interesting. I'm like, oh yeah, like I already know that struggle. Like I've already been through it multiple times. So like I understand what to do. Like, and yes, like that is something that I would certainly do for my students. Like if they have accommodations, I would certainly like follow through with it because that's what helps them to be successful in and out of the classrooms.
100%, and that's our job to help them succeed. I am like I've been thinking about it more though, and I like I'm kind of intimidated by the idea of them and the idea of like if you have multiple students in the classroom who have IEPs that have different accommodations and like the work that you would have to go through to make sure that all of the accommodations are being met and like not to get the accommodations confused, like to be like, okay, she needs this, he needs this, like we have to do this for them kind of thing. And that's just like really intimidating, I feel like. and like to know. But like to be a good teacher, you have to have that all in the back of your mind and like be constantly like, okay, I have a student who has to have this. How can I incorporate that into my lesson plan today?
I mean, like, one of my teachers said that they had like a student teacher that had like a clipboard of like all the like accommodations. So that way, like, whenever like a principal that walked through like the classroom, they would already like have it like down and like know how to like incorporate like the accommodations into the lesson planning. So that could be like something that could be like helpful, like having like a clipboard or
Hmm. Yeah, that's smart. I'm doing my student teaching right now, and my teacher hasn't even like showed the students IEPs to me. So I'll be real. I don't know if there's any accommodations I'm supposed to be meeting. Uh, but I only have like one more week left of that. So we'll see how that goes. But that is something I'm going to keep in mind for my next placement. And like this placement, I don't know if I've mentioned to you. So I'm at Prairie Creek and I am doing sixth grade math. So I have like 100 and some students because it's almost like middle school where you would see all of the different kids and stuff. So, but then I'll be back at Shellsburg for my second placement in fifth grade classroom with, 20 kids. So then that will be easier to like, okay, what needs do these students have? And like look at the accommodations if there's any students that have IEPs and stuff. So that's something I'll keep in mind for the next one, and especially with having it on clipboard and making sure I'm meeting those needs. Thank you.
everybody has different ways of how to like meet their students' accommodations and like what works best for you. Like,
Hmm.
excuse me. And so just kind of like listening to like the students, like what are your like favorite podcasts and why? Like if you listen to any podcast.
I don't listen to podcasts because I don't really like podcasts in a sense. I'm horrible. I I think it would be fun if like if I had a longer commute to listen to them in the car, but a lot of times I'm just like, okay, music. But otherwise I don't like listen to stuff at home. Like I'm either like reading or just like hanging out with my friends.
I mean, yes, like I don't listen to podcasts that much, and I'm like trying to like get like learn to like start a podcast. Like this is what this class is about, start a podcast.
Uh-huh.
And so like it's just like one of the questions I have to ask, like, what are your favorite podcasts if you do listen to any? But like since you don't listen to a podcast, like what would you listen to?
Um, like what kind, like if I were to listen to podcasts, what kind? Is
Yeah.
that what? Okay. So actually, now that I'm thinking about it, for one of my classes, we were supposed to like find podcasts that we liked. So now I'm gonna go to uh my podcast thingy-majig and see if I have any on here that mm, well, that's a bummer. I really don't. I think I would probably be listening to more podcasts about um including other students, creating like that warm and welcoming environment, and how to help uh, with like IEPs and like making sure to meet everybody's needs kind of thing. Because I think that's like probably the most important part about teaching over like classroom management, I think would be one, but like I'm I feel like I'm more concerned about like meeting the needs in that aspect of making my students feel comfortable and making them be like and helping them reach their full potential kind of thing.
So like if I like brought on students with like different disabilities and just like kind of like speaking about the disability and like listen to like how you can like better to accommodate them in the classroom. That'd be something that you'd be interested in.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Yes, I was gonna like interview like another like pre-service teacher and like just kind of like talk about like the podcast as well. and like see what they would like also like want to see like in the future for like in the classes.
Hmm.
Because like my professor that's in charge of this class, she's like, that'd be really exciting, like if you could be the voice for the students and know what they need.
Yeah, I would agree.
And so like what would you so I'm guessing you would wish that more podcasts would cover like accessibilities and needs of like meeting the students' accommodations and making sure that they're not being left out, being
Hmm.
more inclusive and like keeping in mind of their needs.
Yeah, 100%. I was now that I'm thinking about it, I really like the idea of like being able to like search specific things too. Like so like once I get my own classroom, say I have a student who I- I'm really bad at like coming up with examples, but I have a student with a specific need. Like I can like Google like find a podcast over something very similar to it and how they support their students with it. And so then I can like incorporate those ideas into my classroom. So I'd like to the idea of like searching for like specific things too, which would be harder because like you want to like kind of have things over general larger populations so that it can help more people. But like I like the idea of specific things too.
I mean, like, I know someone, they're kind of like actually my boyfriend.
Oh, what?
Yes, a lot of this happened over last summer. So you know how I was at Quinn College last year? So I was like working in the dish room. My boyfriend, he's autistic. So like I'm just kind of like learning on how to like best meet his needs in the relationship and like just understand where he's coming from. And so like we're like very like polar opposites. I am not really that like touch affectionate as he is.
Mm-hmm.
And so like just being able to like understand like have like setting boundaries for one another. I
Yeah.
feel that's like another part of like accommodating students, like know how far the boundaries are, because like if you don't know what the boundaries are, you could potentially like overstimulate or just like overwhelm them.
Yes, 100%. And see, I feel like a situation like that is very eye-opening too. And it's like, oh wow, yeah, like I need to like this is something I'm gonna have to think about like in my personal life and then in my professional life. That's really cool.
So yeah,
Congratulations.
like I was like thinking like, oh, how can I help to like meet the person that has like autism? Like how can I like best meet their needs as well?
Hmm.
But I think like maybe like sensory toys might be like helpful in that aspect. So it's just like trying to like accommodate like every student. And like
Yep.
class management, like you had like said earlier, like I was wondering like maybe like having like a room like having like a space in the room set up like for like any student that needs to go to that like station, so they're not like overwhelmed and just kind of like being inclusive and inviting.
Yes, 100%. I think that that also like I'm very like wanting something like that too. And but then I like start thinking about how like I don't want students to like misuse it or like abuse it kind of thing. And so I think it's really important when you are like setting up your classroom to also go over expectations with that and like teach the students that different students have different needs. And I think it was like equity versus equality kind of thing. And the equity is that everybody's getting what they need, even if it looks different than somebody else. Like which would be the equality, like everybody gets the same thing, but you might not need that. Like somebody might need something more than what you have been given. So just like teaching that equity part and making sure that they know, hey, this student has a wobble stool today because they need it. You don't particularly need it, you're not going to have it. Like we only have so many kind of things. Like, I just get really nervous like, oh, one kid has a wobble stool and everybody's going to want a wobble stool or something. Like they have flexible seating. I want flexible seating kind of thing. But you have to teach, not like people have different needs and we're going to meet the needs of everybody here kind of thing.
mean, like, I remember when I was in high school that like I was like confused as to why like I was getting like much of like the like accommodation that I needed until like I realized one I think like one of my like itinerant teachers they're like we're trying to like help like increase the like equal the playing field because like for me like I don't have like the immediate hearing that everybody has. And
Mhm.
so like having like assistive technology, having like note-taking services, like that helps to equal the playing field because like everybody has like instant access to that and I don't.
Yep, 100%. I I like that the terminology too, equaling the playing field, making sure that everybody's like at the same spot kind of thing. I like that. And you need different support to get to that spot, and that's okay. We're just here to provide that support kind of thing, you know?
So I mean yeah, like it worked out in the end because like so yeah, I think that's about all I have.
Okay.
Well, I thank you for taking oh what was it like a half hour?
That's perfect. Thank you so much for letting me chit chat with you about this stuff. That was fun.
Yes, it was definitely fun. Maybe some other time we'll talk about it more in person. We'll see.
Yes, that would be great.
Awesome. Well, hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will. Oh, how do I figure out the outro for the podcast? Thank you for teachers for listening into this Deaf and Hearing Law Empowerment and Advocacy for Teachers podcast. Hopefully you learned a few things here today and how it can help you best in the world. If you could just give me like a moment or like a shout out and say like a few like comments of what you want to expect from this podcast, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day. Thank you. And be the voice for everybody.
That was so good.
Bye.